The following is a fan-based discussion and is owned by Toei Inc. and Bandai. We claim no ownership to the shows we are discussing and is based on pure opinion. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Tokucast Top 10 Show.
Woo!
I only held up 5 fingers.
I got you covered.
That's 15.
Close enough. On the next episode, we learn to count.
Maybe.
But today, we are going to be talking the top 10 rider machines.
As requested by a comment, which we will post, we will put up in the video. So, top 10 rider machines.
Rider kick.
No.
Rider
Bike.
jump.
No. This is not the ZX movie.
Oh.
Or Z-Cross, whatever you say.
Kamen Rider. Jump. Okay! So
Yay.
we're doing the Kamen Rider bikes today. I'm so excited for this one.
Yeah, we should probably start off with some honorable mentions.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and do mine first. Go ahead and go. What happened to me? Okay. So, my first honorable mention, I wanted to do this because I really like bikes like this. It'll show up a couple times as we're doing this list. Machine Kiva for Kamen Rider Kiva. I just like Harleys. And anything that's a big chopper like this, I'm always going to end up loving it. I'm sort of upset that we don't have nearly as many of these as now. It's a great bike. It doesn't look good with that other thing attached to it, but we don't talk about that. The thing looks like a long fingernail from 1994. But yeah, it's a great one. The second honorable mention I have is Kamen Rider ZO's bike. It's a really good sports bike. I really believe it's the first one that we legitimately got as a whole up until Agito's, which happened later. But it's a good bike. There's not really anything wrong with it. It's a great bike.
I'm going to start mine off. My honorable mention is Kamen Rider Spectre's Machine Hoodie. It was on our contention for the list, but just didn't make the cut. It's a very good-looking bike that does serve a purpose for his Houdini form, but unfortunately he doesn't really utilize it very much, and so we don't know to the extent. Besides, I can fly.
And I have chains.
Which Marcus is all about that. My second one, which we did not know if this would qualify or not, I say it does, and it's Kamen Rider Axel. That's it. Kamen Rider Axel. Because he is a bike.
Because he is the bike.
And...
Excel.
Whatever. I can never get them mixed up, because I know there's Axel and Excel, and... Because I'm pretty sure the way it's pronounced in the show when he hits them is Axel.
It is. It's Axel.
Yeah, that's just why I pronounce it the way it's said in show.
Yeah. Those are ours.
Pronunciations aside, my honorable mention is one that I'm really upset didn't make it into the list, but that is Battle Hopper from Kamen Rider Black.
Me too. I am upset this day.
He doesn't look the greatest, but his self-sacrifice in the end of the show, and...
Without talking about the mootness of it because of Black RX.
But it's still a very powerful scene.
But acrobatic.
Shut up. Still really like Battle Hopper. Love what he did in the show. He's really cool.
He was a really good character.
Alright, let's get into the actual list, folks.
Starting off at number 10.
We have Ride Vendor from Kamen Rider O's.
I love this bike.
It's a great bike.
It's a good bike, but it doesn't serve much purpose as a bike.
I mean, it's a vending machine, and sometimes they will vend out those cans.
Yes,
but
like octopus
that's not. I mean, but those are kind of two separate entities. We're talking about their purpose as a bike,
as a machine. What we are grading on.
Which is
that's still a useful function.
It is still a useful function, and it's also the only Kamen Rider bike really that's mass produced that anybody can ride it.
Yeah, because both Birth and O's end up using the same bike.
And I think the best, but there's still you can't beat the scene where they turned off the thing that they can turn to a bike, and it was just push it over on top, and he goes, eh.
It's a great scene.
It's a fucking hilarious
so funny.
Scene.
But it's a good bike.
I really like the vending machine concept, and it looks pretty awesome. Moving on to number 9, one of Marcus's absolute favorites, Gaika from Kamen Rider Hibiki.
I love this bike so much.
This thing, function, it's a bike.
Non-existent.
Form, it's one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. It looks so awesome.
I love big choppers. It's just so cool, just especially seeing him like really riding on it. He just leaned back, looking like a complete badass, and that makes his bike so much better because of what it gives to it Hibiki aesthetically. It just makes him look, and as an already badass character, it just makes him look even more badass.
It does. It's a really cool bike.
We really like it.
Next.
Up next, we have Kamen Rider X's Cruiser.
It's a very nice looking bike, But the reason why it makes this list, because it looks different.
I think this one looks really cool.
It's much more because of its own function.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's aquatic.
It's an aquatic bike. It can travel underwater, which is, it's really cool.
And he's the only one, I believe, to this day that is designed to be underwater from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the beginning.
It's a cool bike. I mean, no real problems.
I love the little propellers on it.
Those are cute.
It's cute. I think it looks pretty cool, though. I really like this bike.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I had a bike that could go underwater.
Next.
I need scuba gear, but I'd still like it. Next, we have Kamen Rider Kuga Beat Chaser 2000.
The reason why I love this bike personally is because there's a whole episode in Kuga where Kuga and the villain of that episode are just fighting on a cliffside on their bikes.
Yes, and it's the kind of like the trials type of bike riding where they're hopping on different rocks.
Yeah. It's like I've mentioned before.
It serves no purpose to the actual fight except look what we can do.
I mean, it's very fast, but I've mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of dirt bikes. I don't really like them as a general rule, but I really, really liked
it worked at this one because
of that episode. It's like that boosted it up so high.
Not even that, it still looks cool.
Yeah. It's a fine looking bike. It's just that episode I think sometimes you'll get that one episode of a show. This happens for both Sentai Rider or really whatever you're watching. That's something that's sort of minor beforehand, ends up getting like one big spotlight. Yeah. And it just makes it that much better.
Yeah. It's definitely a cool looking bike.
Yeah.
It is a cool looking bike.
Next.
Coming up next, we have Kamen Rider Agito's Machine Tornado.
It's so cool looking.
That's pretty much the only reason it made it this onto the list. It is one of the coolest looking
I've not seen Agito yet, but they were adamant that it be on the list. I was outvoted on this, but I saw it and I was like, yeah, it's badass. That can go on here.
Cool
it's our first one where it's like, I did mention this.
For function, I probably would have put X's higher personally, but...
It's like for this, like I did mention Zio's bike earlier, but this is the first real sport bike that we had as
since the Heisei, for the Heisei generation.
Yeah, as as the main rider machine for a rider, and that makes it pretty damn great, especially because we see it all the time in the show, and that really helps this bike just be that much more badass. I'm not sure if it happened in the show or not, if it was in this show or if it was just in Decade where he turned it into that surfboard thing.
I think it was just Decade.
Okay, never mind. We're not going to mention it. Never mention Decade.
I thought it was Decade who turned him into the surfboard.
Yeah, that's the final ride, I'm pretty sure.
It's all this.
Yeah, that was Decade who turned it. That was the Wizard special.
Anyway.
That was kind of funny, though. Moving on, we have G3's Guard Chaser.
So we have another one from Agito on this list.
The reason why we ended up picking this one is just because of its massive amount of function. All of G3's weapons are housed in this bike.
And yet it still looks good.
Like, it's really bulky. We're not,
but it's holding all the weapons.
Yeah, it's
But legitimate. The bulkiness in this case, I have complained about it in the past. In this case, it works. This is another case where bulky works.
For this one, it's a legitimate police bike.
It's a police bike. It's supposed to be big and intimidating, and you see him roll up on the thing.
It's supposed to have things in it that help them, do their job, and that's what helps G3 and G3X do his job. And I really like the
even though G3 really doesn't do anything.
He has his moments. Next.
Next. Extender, Kamen Rider Kabuto.
That thing looks so great.
It looks cool.
It looks pretty cool.
The horn on the front is a bit iffy, but it works with Kabuto.
Hence the extender.
And its secondary function where it does end up...
turns into a spear kind of
thing. Yeah, it ends up turning basically into much more... Yeah, it legitimately turns into a battering ram. And once Kabuto clocks up on it, it starts to ignore gravity and can ride up the sides of buildings. There's that whole one scene where he's using it to ride like on falling pieces of a building. It's a great scene. And, it's a lot like the Beat Chaser
used for great set pieces.
Yeah.
Where it has a lot of use. I mean, he doesn't really end up using it that much because CGI heavy.
Yeah.
But it's good for the times that they did end up using it. And I love that one scene where he uses it. He clocks up on it and he runs to the end of the horn and it launches him and he kicks the monster in midair. I was like, okay, I get it now.
Awesome. And moving on, we have Autobajin from Kamen Rider Faiz.
Transformer.
That's
pretty much Transformer.
It's a nice looking bike. It's nice enough looking, but it literally transforms into a robot with guns, and the fact that even as a bike, the handle becomes Faiz's sword. Mm-hmm. It serves so much function and it works.
Mm-hmm. It helps him if he needs to get anyone out of the way. It does make sure they, are moved or it's much more of a helper to Fives. It's a separate entity. It's auto, so it does end up having its own thing that it can do, and that's pretty great.
I think the function outweighs the form a little bit in this one, but it's a great function to have.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, next we have Hard Boiler, Kamen Rider W's vehicle.
Let's just talk about the main form really quickly. I love that color scheme.
Yes.
Yeah.
The black and green, it's, W's color scheme in its Cyclone Joker form, and that it's really aesthetically pleasing, because I think black is a great accent color.
It is.
For that one.
The colors like black and white kind of just go with everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it fits the motif of the show. It's another sports bike, which we haven't had in a while when W came around.
Yeah, I think, Decade had a chopper.
But
the actual sports bike,
yeah.
Because we haven't had another one since.
It was a good balance of fashion and function with the retractable back to get the other functions out of it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons it's so high up, is because it has those other forms where it can fly, you can go in the water.
I just really wish, especially when it ends up coming to this, and this is just something I wish as a series as a whole, especially with X8 coming out, and we already know what that bike looks like. I really wish that we had more sports bikes, because W was legitimately the last time we had one.
And wow, it was. That's the sad thing.
Everything else since then. Well, as for a main rider, that is. He's the last one that really had a sports bike. O's the last one that had a chopper. Yes, Spectre had Machine Hoodie, but he's a secondary rider. I'm talking about, for the main rider, we haven't had another sports or chopper since O's and W.
Well, there's always hope for the future.
Well, it's probably just because dirt bikes are so much cheaper.
That's true.
That's probably why.
Well, what's next?
Up next, number 1, we have Trideron, Kamen Rider Drive.
Which is weird because number 1 is the only one that's not a bike.
It's true.
But it looks cool.
It looks awesome.
It has 3 separate forms, each with their own purpose and function, and it's used as his ultimate final form, which is the peak of functionality. It's just everything you would want in a rider machine. Not only that, it's better for defenses too.
It can, with both Mox and Chasers bikes. No, it's not with those, but it has those helicopter extenders that can be attached to it. Yeah. It can fly.
And not only that, this is where all of his shift tires
come from.
Yeah. It's literally the perfect sidekick.
Tiger Coca. But yeah.
Trideron.
It's a pretty great list.
It is, and I'm really happy with this list. Let us know what you think your favorite rider machine is. Do you agree with us? Do you not? Did we forget something? And thank you to all the suggestions. We are starting to do those more, and we will be continuing to do those from now on.
Yep.
And just let us know, what top 10s do you want to see? Always like and subscribe, and check us out on our Facebook page. Thank you so much for joining the Tokucast. We will see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I started recording just in time for that.
Son of an emerald horse, starting again.
No, we're not.
What is wrong with me? I'm just doing this one I did last time.
I don't know, Marcus. What is
you
wrong
do?
with you? No, not 200. Why do I keep leaving an O? Or a 0. God
I'm disappointed.
damn it, brain work.
Now stop the audio.
I just might leave that in there.